Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how to install the CR-10 and CR-10s Z-brace kit sold by ZYLTech.com. As you can see, it's made from the same 2020 piece extrusions that the rest of the frame of the printer is made from. It has no clearance limiting issues, either in the X-axis carriage or the Z or even the Y, because the Y ends about right here. And so you retain your entire 300 by 300 by 400 build space. And again, I think it looks really nice. It's also very sturdy once it's all tightened down and bolted together. And we're just going to go ahead and show you how to put that together today. Okay, let's get started. It just comes with two 600mm rails, two 270mm rails, and one 330 rail, 12 90-degree 2020 extrusion connectors, some I think they're M5 by 10 bolts, and then the drop-in T-slot hammer nuts. Mine has the M512s, and so to compensate, I made these little 3D washers, but the actual kit will come with M510s. And the first thing I did was I went through and I went ahead and got all these nuts and bolts attached, just to make it easier to make this video. But it's easier just to go ahead and get everything done right off the bat, and just kind of attach them all. And I turn them so that the slots line up with the extrusion slots, like so. And then I set them to the side there. First thing I'm going to do is just going to line these two up next to each other. They're going to be mirrored on either side at the top, where they're going to end up being attached. Some tools you'll need are just your regular old hex wrench will work, but one on a screwdriver works a lot better for attaching. Some sort of 90-degree angle that stands by itself. I just took the ruler out of my slide square here, and some digital calipers are always a good thing to have nearby. So we're just going to go ahead and start. We're just going to attach two of these to either end of these 270s rails here. So I'm going to take our 90 degrees and just line it up, make sure it's square with the end here. So when you're tightening these bolts, to make sure that the little drop-in nuts kind of engage the underside of the rail, you're just going to want to back it all the way out until you feel it kind of go around once, and then bring it back all the way, and now you're attached. Sometimes they have a kind of a tendency to not. If you just start from the beginning, they won't do anything and they'll just come right out. You have to back them all the way out and then go all the way back in. Well, see there, I didn't go all the way. So if you go all the way, so you feel it go around once, then come back, then you're firmly attached. So we're just going to do all of our nuts that way, as much of a pain as it is. And make sure you check the connections before you move on. It's really kind of a pain to get it all attached and then find out that one isn't engaging, and doing them when they're on the printer is a little more difficult. It's not impossible, but you're at odd angles, and sometimes the nut will come out and slide down the rail, and then you have to start, you have to get it back in there and line up the bolt. And so I just recommend doing it on a flat surface like so. We're just going to build most of it and then just kind of set it on the printer and attach it, and all the connections will be ready to go. So second thing to do, with the two at the one end up, on either side you're going to put them kind of mirrored symmetrically over the center line. So if we just turn it around real quick, you want one to be like so, and the other to be over here like that. Just go ahead and attach those. Same thing here. And you can also, once the little T-slot nut's engaged, just kind of come back, make sure it's square to the end of the rail. And then, again, always make sure that you check to make sure that they're nice and flush and really on there pretty good. So then you've got these two. It should look like this when you're done. Two at the end, and two at the end, 90 degrees from each other. You can set those aside. And then we're just going to come down here and focus on the 330 rail. Same thing, only this time you want one on either end here. Like so. You want those to be pretty square. So we'll just go ahead and do that. We can set that aside. And I'll just move these over here. And same things for these 600mm rails. I'm just going to put two at the bottom. One, and then two. Once these are attached here, what you're going to do is just going to take these, flip them around like so, and then you've got that nice and attached down there. You're going to take these rails, one on either side. Your left side should be facing, this top angle here should be facing in, and obviously the opposite side should be the opposite, as in the right side's top angle bracket should be facing into the left. The space right here needs to be 30 millimeters from the top of the bar, from the top of the 600mm down to the top of the extrusion that you have here. So you can go ahead and measure out some space here, or so I have my digital calipers for and just kind of measure it out. I think it's best if you kind of push your rail, just kind of line up everything, and then use your calipers to kind of move it 30 millimeters in. Alright. And then just kind of apply some pressure. Having the screwdriver makes it much easier. Alright, and I'm just not going to fully tighten it. You don't really want to move your calipers on your rails too much. They are pretty sharp and they will probably scratch it a little bit. So you're just going to want to be real gentle. It doesn't have to be super exact, but 30 is about where you want it to be. According to the CAD models anyway, that'll get you real good. Nice and squared off. But really it's more about not having the upper level of the gantry moving around. There we go. And so that's all pretty secure. You can go ahead and tighten all the bolts on this. We shouldn't need to adjust it further. We'll go ahead over to the other side, just do the same thing. I'm gonna insert the 270 piece such that it's 90 degrees facing in, and then again you want to mildly engage the just going to set these apart from each other. I'm going to take this 330 piece here and set it between them. Now the 330 piece is going to come all the way to the end. You might ask why. Why do we have this little extrusion piece sticking up past the top of where our printer is going to stop? Well, you have a 300 build area, or by 400, and this is going to stop it from clipping the, if you had a, let's just say you filled up your entire build space up to your 300 by 400, your 400 would clip if it was lined up with the top of the printer. So you want to make sure this comes all the way up to the top here. If you're not going to be printing that sort of thing, you can always order a 570 rail, and then everything would be nice and flush to the top here. But if you want to make use of all of your build space, I would recommend just going with the actual kit. It's probably a little cheaper as well. So, easiest way to do that is just to, again, use your right angle, line them up, and then go down here and engage the drop-in nut, which is generally the trickiest part. But after a few, you'll kind of feel the difference, whether it's attached or not. Alright. So there you go. Now that we have the main assembly put together, it's much easier just to kind of stick it on there instead of building it on the frame as we go. So I recommend just kind of engaging the upper nuts into their little tracks, and then bringing the lower legs in and just making sure it sits. Then it'll hold its own weight up against the printer rails. Then you're going to line up the outer edge of the 270 rail with the outer edge of the metal of the top of the Z gantry, and then just engage those nuts. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the front rail of the 600 is nice and flush with the front rail of the printer base. And I'm just going to kind of hold it there gently, line it up a little, and then tighten the nut. And same thing on the other side here. Alright, last thing we're going to do, we're just going to take our 4 remaining 90-degree angle brackets, going to stick one on top of the 270 and bolt it in against the 600 rail here. That's going to give it a little more stability and stop it from, kind of bending and becoming out of square. I'm also going to put one at the base where the 600mm rail meets the base of the printer. And we're just going to do that for each side. And I do not have enough bolts, but you will. And you'll just tighten those bolts and everything will be fine. And there you go.